Okay. Hi to everybody. This is the Native Wellness Power Hour. And I had to do a couple of, probably, I'm not sure if it's a alien or a being, but the algorithms, they switched the page around. So I was hunting like the old days. I had to hunt for the new algorithm cues on the page. But good afternoon. So welcome to the Power Hour for the Native Wellness Institute. And I put a title on. Sometimes I go because I forget, but really today the topic is going to be wellness and moving forward in a good way. And just because I'm broadcasting from the Blackfeet Reservation in Montana, um, you might hear the wind percussion in the back. That's Creator's will to be a part of the Power Hour. We're having a very windy day. So I'd like to start. Good afternoon. Oki, Niktaniko Asteniki, Kiamspakaniaki. And you heard my one dog chime in, which she might off and on. But just to keep her safe, she has to be able to chime in. So when I was thinking about this time we're living in and today, I want to stay in sort of like the moment during the power hour, but also to share with you some things that to do a little future thinking, but to do it in really proactive way. And prior to coming on the power hour, I was, let's see, I see no comments. So I hope there are people there. Oh, okay. Somebody said hi. Thank you, Pamela and Vince. Um, and Vince is also AKA the Indian Johnny Depp. So hi from Shakopee. Um, so today I was thinking about the time we're moving into, and right now on the Blackfeet Reservation, we are under again a stay-at-home order. We do have oh, and somebody trying to text me, and so let me take care of that. Find on your phone the do not disturb, which I usually turn on during the power hours so you don't hear that. There, see, now there's silence. Ding. That's one of the best boundary functions on on your phone that you can find is the do not disturb, because I think right now it is okay to set a boundary where you might need some quiet space. And that includes from your technology. But also, I want to say that just like everything else, um, tires on sale may be a good thing in that moment, but sometimes you don't want to run all winter on them, especially where I live. So technology is like that. It has its good moments and it has its moments when you are in control of the off on function. But on your phones, there's a do not disturb. So as I was preparing this week to be a part of this unique connection that we have access to through the Native Wellness Institute, I also was receiving messages and looking at sometimes I can't call everyone that I care for and love for in the world, but I check to see if they're still okay online, like if they're posting or if they're posting to my story, if they don't, really want any feedback, or and particularly some of my relatives that are still roaming around. Sometimes their online presence is how I'm able to know that they're okay, or at least they're still here, they're still connected somehow. So for me, this medium is not, it's like it doesn't have a heartbeat. It doesn't have it's questionable. Excuse me, it's questionable whether it has some other um, anthropological prolactic. I think that's it. An anthropological, animation to it, but it does have a vibe, and the right kind of vibe, right? And so when I was thinking about this week, what are those things that I've heard? People have asked me questions, they've sent me articles. My relatives across the border, uh, all over, the First Nations and the Inuit communities in Canada, our relatives are very concerned. So we're here. You could see me. I'm doing good. Still got summer color on my skin. But to really talk about some of those, because when I look at social media platforms, and I participate in them, and I start seeing similarities of Indian people, Indigenous people, First Nations people, the same thing kind of cropping up. I think really, I wore my Power Hour shirt, healing is a verb, because the pandemic didn't stop our healing from what our people need to heal from. And so there's some commonalities. And so I'm also going to talk about some things. And then I thought, well, I'm going to, because most of you know, I'm a story, you could call me a storyteller or whatever. I feel I'm just a human being with some love for being Indigenous, and that means I'm a storyteller. We're all storytellers. So I thought I'm gonna wear my unicorn pin, and because my people know there were horses prior to the colonization of North America, North and Central America, and South America. And our first horse, I prefer, because there's no photographs, I prefer to think of it as like the unicorn, so I wore my unicorn pin. And I was also discussing with my mom, earlier today about being on the Power Hour and just things, our concern, our love for our community, how we show compassion, how we don't throw another drama log on the fire, and really, can we support people? And if I had a paper bag, and if I had on one side sort of the thing that perpetuates bad feelings like drama, on social media or in real life, all sorts of ways, then if I turn that bag around, there would be a question: how can I help? And sometimes that's the question in the moment you have to ask yourself. Can you help? Are you able to help? What would that look like? And sometimes that means merely stepping away from whatever it is. But I also wanted to say, because I want to be mindful, everybody, like, we're all into recycling and repurposing. And I grew up with stories from, my mom, but the older generation, about how they would reuse things during the Great Depression or during the hard times on the res, when you had to be really mindful. You couldn't just consume, because we didn't have those resources. And, this is for the young people. This is way before Walmart. So, there weren't the $3 t-shirts or the $1.98 clearance section, summer tank that you could buy. So, and then I want to be mindful of the season we're in. So right before the Power Hour, I made my my magic COVID-19 repelling wand. And you see it? So, but I wanted to be, like a good citizen of the earth, because all the issues for climate change have not stopped. So this is my former black fly swatter. I cleaned it off, and see, I wore it out. And that season is ending because we're coming to the end of fall and we're coming to the winter time. So I made this out of my stash, but you should certainly could make this with out of a t-shirt that or other, pieces of fabric, even paper, because I really think that everybody needs kind of this symbol, this piece of equipment in their house right now, or in their car, or wherever you're living. If you're traveling, you need this in your suitcase. And this is a way that I remind myself that sometimes I use other language, depending if I'm by myself, but uh, for this power hour, I want you to feel free to make your own COVID-19 repellent wand. And that can mean everything. Sometimes you need to check out from misinformation about COVID-19, or maybe you can't enter a raffle because you're wondering how you're going to stay online and pay your electric bill. Or maybe you just had enough of somebody's post. So rather than throw another drama log on the fire, I want you to use your COVID-19 one. But just like that paper bag, it also has another function. I have seen really a lot of posts and dialogue and conversations I've had on the phone with people that really the holiday season, well, every day is a holiday in Indian country because somebody may come by and gift you. Somebody may come by and drop food off. Somebody might, see you getting gas and give you money for gas, or, reach in their pocket and give you something when you're close. And I don't know, I guess now social distancing, we're going to have to throw it. But this one also has another function. And so today I wanted to talk about these next couple months that we are going to enter into. The pandemic is still on, and we know Indians learn things quickly. We have teachings of how to survive, how to keep our minds strong, how to keep our hearts good during this time. And as we enter this calendar world, because all Native people had a different way of marking time. For my people, it's led by our ceremonial way of life. It's led by our winter counts that the ancestors left us, of in our concept, our symbol of time. So there's all ways to mark time, but we live in that dual world where, the person I talked to the most this week, other than the safe cohorts of my family, is the UPS guy, because he shouts to me, "Where's number such and such?" He's trying to deliver stuff, right? But during this time, we also have to not just use this as a COVID-19 repellent, the things that, get on our nerves, or making us feel scratchy, or that we don't want to hear. But we also need to use it to remember that during this time, it's okay to have fun. And so I see in our community, there's been dialogue, what we're going to do about Halloween. Now, that's not an Indian holiday, right, everyone? Right? Right? It's not. But it is in the new world that we live in. And in some parts of Indian country, what it means is kids get to trick or treat, and even big kids. And they get things, they get little treats, they get things that from strangers, from community members. And so this year, Halloween's going to be different because we're still in a pandemic, and you can't go to the big parties. You can't, some of the things have to change. And here on the reservation, sometimes we have a big snowstorms, but those those Halloween costume goers, they're strong, man. They'll be battling out, feet are freezing, shoes are wet, and they still got their second bag that somebody gave them from the house. But we can't do that this year. Or I would encourage you not to do that this year. It's up to you. Free will is in every indigenous culture. How you going to behave, what you going to do. And really, I use this also to remind me that it's okay to have fun. So I was thinking about ideas, and everybody that came up with the alternative idea that I seen through the social media, I liked it because we're inventive. We took ribbons that were made probably by our human relatives in China, and we turned them into something else. So this Halloween, I would encourage you to use this virtual medium. Organize a live page for your community. Ask everybody to, post pictures of their costumes. And I'd really like to suggest that you ask your family members, no matter how old they are, to participate in some way of having fun on that day. So the question would be, how can you be participating during that day and stay safe with all the regulations in your household? Have a real house party, like the original house party of this land, this indigenous world, for my people, was in a lodge. That's the original house party. We're more than old G, you know? So in your lodge of today, how can you celebrate with your family members or in your safe cohorts, all following all the regulations? Because everything we do today, I think about this sometimes, the challenge to keep your mental wellness, fluffed up and not starve it. And make a pledge today. Encourage your family members that you all are making a pledge to see the green grass of spring, to see that coming when the world changes again and things start growing. And during, preparing for Halloween, adults, I think, this is from another culture, but one time I was, ageism. We've been colonized by ageism, in Indian country. Don't think it hasn't touched us. And, but I was looking at just reading things, and there was this saying about you're only old as the flexibility of your spine. And my mom has a saying, you must dance so you don't grow moldy. So on Halloween, adults that maybe you've been like this now on Zoom, maybe you're getting them scary eyes because you're zooming too much. Or, maybe you just, this time now, we've been in it 7 months, and so we've passed through a lot of seasons. We've moved from winter into spring. We've moved through the spring into summer, and now we're moving into the fall time, and then the winter time, and then the spring will come again. So the earth clock isn't stopping. It is progressing. So on Halloween, adults, get your flexibility back. Get your fun back. Dress up as a family, post your pictures, and I encourage you to think of creative ways to use this medium. And, everybody's trying to, eat healthy, keep your health up, all this. But I think it's okay to have treats, and whatever that means for your family, and adults, it's okay if you don't exchange hand sanitizers on Halloween as your treat. Stay flexible, make your wand, make a costume. One time I seen, we have an IGA, or one of our members, her husband who married into the tribe, called it Indians Grab Anything, store. But one time there was one of our clowns at our powwows, our gatherings, our dances. One of the clowns had made their whole costume out of IGA bags. So be inventive with that stuff you have in the house. But I really encourage you to think that, a lot of the little people are depending on us as adults to organize something safe and fun for them on that day. And then I was thinking about not every family and communities has access to the internet or they're not connected. So maybe somebody can let people know that they're going to do a Facebook live trick or treating, between 6 and 7 around their little communities, and they will stream kids, coming outside the house in a safe distance, following all the precautions to show their costumes. And my mom and I were talking about how you could get candy to kids safely in this time. So I'm relying on all of you with your intelligence out there for you to come up with that inventive way. The restrictions, the community you live in, and to make sure that we're contributing to not letting those little people down, because they have so few calendar days in this modern time that are about them and that are about really families. In this time, we have the opportunity to have fun. So today I asked my mom, she'll be 82 on Thursday, but I asked my mom if her and my sister would dress up, and I said, I'm going to dress up for Halloween. I haven't dressed up for Halloween since I used to volunteer at our library with my other sister, and all the kids would come into the library and trick or treat. So that's been about, I would say, 7, 8 years. So anyway, that's my wellness challenge to you, for you to get a costume together, and not just for your children, maybe a family. That'd be an awesome family portrait. I have some cousins that they all dress up as a family, and they send out Christmas, they do Christmas cards and stuff, and they just look. But really, it's okay to have fun during the pandemic. And fun balances fear. Fun balances fragility of the spirit, because it brings people through a connection. And there are all types of connections. We know that now. There are dream connections. There in all of our cultures. There's teachings about the importance of dreaming, about letting connection come into your life. And then I was thinking about, like me, I am part of a safe cohort, so that of my relatives. And so for me, if you are in the pandemic by yourself, or a single relative who's by themselves, invite them to post a picture, to text a picture, to in some way contribute to that day. So we got enough time. Because I was also thinking about, there's a slippery slope in mental wellness when alone isn't being alone is not a deficit, but when that loneliness becomes calcified or becomes stiff and starts to become the dominant energy. So that's the other thing you could use the COVID wand from, all those things that might make you feel blue. And I was thinking of my Uncle Gerald today. He's no longer on the earth plane, but I know he's doing good up there, and it's hunting season starting, and I imagine that where he is in the spirit world, he's doing real good, and he's getting prepared. But he used to ask people, how's it going? And that's easy to do now. So the other thing you could do is, if maybe there's somebody you haven't seen, maybe they got tired of Facebook and they checked out, or they're just not present somehow through the connections that are available. It's okay to say, throw open your door, look at the sky, and say, "How you doing?" Because that's also what we know in indigenous thought or intelligence, is that there is a connection between all of us that is, I hope it remains undocumented for a very long time, because there is a connection where you could feel another Indian. You know when you're in an indigenous community, you know when you meet an indigenous person, and those connections don't have a geography. So if you are lonely for that person, you give a shout out to the creator's communication and ask that that person knows that you love them. And during this time, things didn't stop, the things we were struggling with and healing from. And so for my relatives that are still in the valley of addiction, I want them to know I love them. But for my wellness, I can't be an in-person participant in the life they're leading now. But we love our relatives no matter what's happening in their life. And so during the pandemic, I am mindful of that. And I let them know, I express my love for them in my prayers. Like I just told you, I go out at night. When I see the sunrise, I think of those people. I pray for their safety. I pray for, that whatever they need, they get that the Creator brings it to them. And so during this time when we're entering into this holiday season, right? And that's everywhere. Like even across the border, the Canadian, like if you were prior to this, when the border was open and all that kind of stuff, if you were a real smart and a sweet to be person, or you planned ahead, you could hit two Thanksgivings. You could hit two Thanksgivings. The one in Canada is October 12th, and then ours in November, right? Okay, you're gonna hear my dogs go get down. She woke up from her snooze. And so on October 12th, here in America, we're kind of in like, this is when you need this one, be gone, oppressor, Columbus Day, and suddenly on the other side, when it was used, turned into Indigenous Day. So on October 12th, regardless of where you're at and you're negotiating on that calendar, you're accepting that time that we accepted and we're living under, because that's what we got to do. On that day, on Indigenous Day, think about or ask your relatives, what did we do before this day? And it has morphed into a time when a lot of people get together. They have a 3-day weekend, so they get together with their families. They eat a big meal, and my close relative Roger Prairie Chicken. One time we were talking about, he was saying his mom shared when Thanksgiving first, or when Thanksgiving came to them, and Canada decided it was be on this day, it'd be a federal holiday, anyway. And they got a turkey. And his mom was like, all right. And so they were all discussing among their family members, what are you going to do with it? Because that was not our norm food. I'm just going to say it like that. So, because I know some people, that was an important part of their cultural Indigenous diet. But for us, that wasn't our norm food. In the hard times our people had been through, that was not something that was available to a lot of them to purchase. So anyway, they got this big turkey, and they were asking, what do you do with it? How do you fix it? And so Roger's mom did what they was the way that they ate, and that really is our one of our traditional ways of eating is making soup, is boiling, is using our way even a long time ago, um, where they would create a boiling basket of water, which you could do. You could study on, you could find out how to do that, but soup was a norm because it had bone broth. Now that's all the rage with all the hipsters and stuff. Uh, like I said, indigenous people were more ancient than the oldest G in the U.S., and we knew the power of bone broth. So what his mom did with that turkey, she made a big soup, boiled that whole thing, and in their way of life, they integrated that into the way they met that turkey on that day, you know, took charge. And other people roasted it. And he said when the soup was served at the end, all the soup was gone because our people had integrated with their knowledge how to meet that new calendar day that the government had told them, uh, you know, for them, October 12th. So as you prepare this year, and there's a whole bunch of things about correct information, but it will be different. So prepare now. Start thinking of ways that October 12th, um, it would be really cool to see people make a mask. And I don't mean like the ones we're all, that you need to wear now, but like a mask, make it on a stick. Do something to celebrate who you are on that day. And on October 12th down here, it is a 3-day weekend, but we cannot have those same type of celebrations before. Some people would make it a movie weekend. Well, the movie weekend now has moved to home. So what do you need for that? To be fun with your family, to be fun with yourself if you're living alone. And then one thing I learned from my uncle, he would often start talking about how this time of year did mean something to him. All these holidays, birthdays, um, there's a lot of things to celebrate. The starting of hunting season, just the change of the earth, the good times that we were able to have, but also he recognized, and we used to talk about, this is the starting of a season when people start to have those feelings, you're separated. But now in the pandemic, we have some knowledge of how to get through. We have 7 months, 8 months of knowledge. By Thanksgiving, we will have, starting on our 9th month, kind of like, if you look at 9 months, a lot can happen in that. That's how we all got here, right? We all had a gestation period of in our mothers before we were born. So to reimagine what that Thanksgiving time, as you move away from, Indigenous Peoples Day, October 12th, and you move into the American Thanksgiving time, what could that day really be? And, often people express what they're thankful for, but also I think it's a time for families, friends, co-workers to really share the wisdom of what they've learned during this pandemic, of how you maintain connections. What have they learned of how to take care of yourself? And we're in a precarious position in a lot of Indigenous communities because we know what we have is what we have. And we are going to have to strategize how we maintain connections with each other. But in the holiday season, those days do matter to people. because we have integrated them in our communities in a good way. So in the US, we have till November to get a strategy together, you know? So you might have to make two wands like a fancy dancer, right? And to strategize, be mindful of the holiday season, how you are going to prepare for it. And as I was going like, okay, a lot of my relatives now, they used to be like, you know, they were like the Brucelina or the Bruce Lee of Black Friday shopping. They're like, there'd be a sale over there. They get it. And they would plan it. They'd be early. They'd be the early birds, shopping in the stores. Well, you know, just think about that. How can you prepare also for the next season that comes after November? That soon as that turkey or whatever you eat or whatever you're going to eat this year, maybe a good hamburger, maybe a buffalo burger, you know. I mean, I'm praying for our buffalo program. Please figure out, you know, uh, but there is a way a lot of our people, they are clicked into that way of life where they begin to shop. And then there with online shopping, some of them are unstoppable. They already started shopping probably in February, they were done for this year. But not everyone's like that. So when you think of that gift giving time that we enter, that's a new time that was brought to us. And so really at Thanksgiving time in November, when you are starting to gather and think, I could be here, I could be there, I wish I was here, I wanted to go here, be in the moment. And on that day, when you get up and you see the first light, even if it's at noon, if you sleep till noon, when you see the first light, you tell the creation, you tell the creator, you tell all of creation what you're thankful for. Because really, that is the relationship that every day as an indigenous person I give thanks for. That my ancestors laid out a trail, a path, teachings, so that our agreements with the natural world are upheld in the living generation. So our spiritual connections, the relationships that matter to our people so that we can practice our way of life to continue, that those are something I'm grateful for all the time. But I like to combo it. Um, there's I guess on the wand too. I put this. Now some Indians don't like rickrack. I'm just gonna say that. So if you must look away, you can avert your eyes. But I put this gold rickrack on here because my mom loves Elvis. And so I wanted to pay homage to, um, I'm grateful that my mother is still living. I am grateful for that, we have, she's my parent, but we have a friendship and relationship. And I think Thanksgiving is a time when we can express that to people. And like I said, you got some time before, right, in the US. And even, it's only the 6th. So you got 6 days in Canada. If you can't be with somebody right now, your relative that you look forward to seeing, and you have access to mail, even if it's snail mail, and young people, that's when you like took out a pen, you wrote things, you put it in an envelope. Use a sponge. Don't be licking those stamps or envelopes during this time. And you put it in the mailbox. You can write a letter of gratitude to your relatives. But I also want to encourage you again. I trust all of you. Think of how you are going to express gratitude. Be inventive, and if you're getting, near that day and maybe the COVID, you got to slash it away and then, I have to do it all over, and then really start to think about how you can express gratitude to those people that you haven't seen, that you haven't connected with on any form. And I wanted, like I was going to say, in wellness, some people say, I'm living only today. Well, that's cool. I hope so. That was my plan too when I woke up. But you must do, sometimes they'll say the footwork, but I prefer during this time we're entering, when the snow is going to be on the ground in many places where we live in North America, or the seasons have changed. The ancestors all left moccasin trails and teachings that during this time there are teachings about the winter that we come into. There are ways of life that gift giving. That's why, Indians in a minute they have a gift, and some of them have stashes of gifts. But being generous, being connected, sharing our wisdom and our teachings the best way you can, adhering to all your cultural protocols. That is the time a lot of teachings are given. So when you're thinking of a gift, it doesn't necessarily mean to be, everything that's on sale at Target, or, any of the other stores, or you don't have to go mad online shopping and hoping that one, I'll say a prayer for that UPS guy, because he serves a lot of roads. He drives a lot of miles every day. And so the way you give gifts can also be expanded during this time. And then just like sometimes when people make, lists, or they think about in their head, okay, got that one, got that one, got that one. Sometimes this one, you, has to be on that gift list, has to be on that positive self-talk list, has to be on that love letter, that letter of gratitude for what you've done for yourself, how you've taken care of yourself. So as we move towards this time, and we're moving into these seasons, the fall, then the winter, and then the real, we call, here we call it deep winter. There's going to be opportunities to connect, because that's what helps the mental wellness. And having fun, having times and spaces in your life where you are really saying, checking in with yourself. How's it going? And there are certain things that, I use the wand on, but there are also things that I've learned prior to the pandemic, skills and new tools and skills that I have brought up during this time, that I remind myself, but I check in with myself. How's it going? And I've also seen now new dialogues about how, if you're positive, or if you only post happy puppy pictures, which, at any time that's appropriate to share with me, I'm just going to say, it doesn't mean that you're in denial of all the things that Indigenous people are healing from, and figuring out how to rebalance our worlds, our human worlds, or that you're ignoring climate change, or that you are not understanding that we're in a very delicate time. And I had a conversation with a chat with one of my friends. Excuse me, I got a high maintenance res dog, and she needs to come up on my lap, so I got to get her stairs. About sometimes the healthy way, the well way, the kind way, the compassionate way through everything that's going on, all the changes that that we're all experiencing and living through and living with, is you don't use your eyes, you use your heart to get through it. And I think that as we're moving in, like I do see things, I see beautiful things that happen outside, just outside the door, or the window, or when I do safely go out of my house. And I'm grateful for those, because they have a meaning now that it's like highlighted. It's like the magnification, the spiritual magnifier has been put on things during this time, because what has happened with all the changes, there's been a stilling of human activity. And it's like the hum of the earth, the rhythm of the earth can be heard more easily. And I'm grateful for where I live, because you can hear it. You can hear the wind, the trees, the leaves. But also, I look for those things when I go out, because I have that wisdom. I got to change my vision, my spidey vision. And if I ask myself, how's it going? And the answer is not so good, then I reach out for all my little tools. And sometimes the tool that is readily available is to stop, to regain composure through deep breathing, to use a tool, to message a friend, to, find a funny picture to look at, to clean up a corner in my house. But sometimes the answer is to be still. And do not feel like 24/7 you have to be on a deadline or be busy, because merely being is invaluable during this time. To have a calm space, to loosen your shoulders, to get in your body. I'm lucky. I have a pretty long hallway and living room, and so what I do is sometimes when I need a break, I sashay. I sashay down that hallway, or I turn on social distancing powwow, and somebody's always got a good song on there, and I dance around a little bit, because there is another way to stop and to be calm. You hear my dogs, they're in chorus right now. Somebody probably walked by like another dog. But sometimes the answer to today is to stop and be calm, just to be with yourself. Because if you ask that question, how's it going with me or of another person, you need to be ready to listen to the response. My dogs will listen just for a tick. It's gonna wave down. Yep, the big one went outside, so now it will change. But I also wanted to talk about today is that sometimes it's necessary to plan how you're going to engage with people. And it's okay if when you think of somebody, maybe you miss them in the living generation, but maybe that relationship right now can't not be reconnected. And it's okay not to reconnect, not to push your wellness journey forward because it's a pandemic. You have to honor that pace of yourself, your own healing. And the thing that the time when the seasons change, when the tempo of your work, maybe you started a new job in this time, maybe you lost a job, maybe when those things change, that's when you get those signals that you have to tend to yourself. And way back, when I first heard the concept that you could start to recover, you could start to heal, you could repair those things that may have injured you in your past. This is a slogan that always has stuck through me, is let it begin with me. But also I think that's something that we can share with between friends, with the little people that are, they're in a very, they're not in a bubble like the NBA, but they are in a bubble in childhood now that we have no experience with, except for what we are experiencing with them. And there's a lot of challenges to that. So I want to say to every child out there, including the inner child and all the adults, there is nothing wrong with you. You are a good person. Because often when school has come in this new form to our communities and to our cultures, the school is structured to say, are you behaving? But are you behaving in the way that's good for you? I think we need to ask for this time. So, I like to have fun. So this was helping my posture, but I want to tell a story about my yoga, Pilates, core strengthening cushion. Some of you, if you look at if you're my friend on Facebook or whatever on the other mediums, I learned to quilt. I was always a sewer. I sewed things, but I haven't been quilting for that long. So I seen a class. So I said, well, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to take this class, and it was to make star quilts. So I go in there and, I brought my laundry basket full of supplies because you had to bring stuff. And I was setting up my place, and they had these hard plastic chairs. And I'm of the antelope hip people. So a lot of my anatomy, I don't have, a lot of padding back there. So when I knew it was going to be those plastic chairs, because it was in a classroom, I packed my Pilates cushion. So I was like, la, la, I took it out, and you could hear a pin drop in that room. I was like, uh-oh. Wait, did I put my shirt on inside out or something? Because it was a Saturday morning. But I was in a room with a lot of school educators. So finally, one of them, the most senior one, asked me, Lori, what do you use that for? In a teacher voice, so you kind of like get stiff. So I said, oh, this? I said, oh, I sit on it because I said it's a Pilates cushion, because I didn't know if they knew what it was. It's to strengthen your core muscles. I said, but I sit on it because these chairs are going to be hard, and it's going to hurt my oosie, my butt. And they said, oh. Then there was a beat. And as a facilitator and trainer, but also a storyteller, when there is a lull or there's a beat between, there's something coming after. And so what they told me, they had used this with the kids that in school couldn't sit still, because all the science about micro movements. And I use this when I do work, because for me, it keeps my body healthy when I have to sit, which isn't normal for me. But I learned in that day, I told them, oh, so my bone doesn't get hurt, get tired when I'm learning to sew. But to them, they told me that they use this cushion with kids that one of the things in school, they socialize you to sit still. and to be still so you could learn, but they need movement. So I wanted to share that with you today, because if I had had this cushion in my school experience, because I consider myself a survivor of the U.S. educational system, um, maybe my experience would have been different, because I was a child that needed micro movements and needed to have experiential learning. So this is a tool. And I've also learned from sitting in a lot of adult meetings where I will wind up, or I have a little ball and I put it under one, in the back of one knee. So one of my legs is lifted up higher. So I just wanted to share those today, because to me, right, this is a cushion to help my health, to strengthen my core muscles, to make it more comfortable when I have to work, in a chair, when I have to sew, or when I have to take a sewing class. But I also wanted to say that as my journey in interfacing with this technology, um, the Mayo Clinic has a standing desk-free download, which it teaches you to, based on measurements, how to set up a standing desk. And I have a portable standing desk that I also use. Because if you're not used to working, being at home and engaging in stuff and having to learn and interact, relief standing is really important. But the Mayo Clinic, I just wanted to share that today. That's one of my gifts to you during this time. It's free. But as we close in the power hour, the other thing I wanted to say today to everybody is that I'm glad you are here. And I want to be mindful that there are many of our communities and our family members that we're still having those journeys in life. I I just celebrate all the new babies, all the new Indigenous babies, new and sweet to be babies. So to all the babies out there, I welcome you to this living generation, and I'm glad you're here. And to our relatives that are, uh, in that period when they've let their relative has joined the spirit world, I want you to know you're not alone, and you are in people's prayers. I don't think anybody's pretending when they put on social media, my prayers, I'm keeping you in my prayers. They're telling the truth. So I want you to know your family is not alone at this time, that there are thousands, there are millions of people praying for you, and that we want your family to get through this and to know you are not alone. And to anybody who has been through this time alone, I love you. You are not alone, because we are going to find a way through this. And we are. So I encourage all of you today to use your intelligence, to recommit to those connections. Join a new group, make new friends. One of my teachers, we're coming upon our first anniversary of her spiritual journey. And after I had lost my father in 2002, she called me up to check on me because she lived in Canada. And one of the things she told me is, you have to make new friends your whole life. So I encourage you to use those ways that you're connecting with people to make new friends. It's okay to make new friends during the pandemic. And I just want to express my gratitude and my love for all of you, and that's my wish, that you have a good day and that you go and you find your fly swatter that can be retired now, that season's over, and you reimagine it, and that you have fun and you stay flexible. So I love you all. Have a good day, and thank you for being here on the Native Wellness Power Hour. And now I got to click that red button that says leave.